Good morning, my YouTube friends and family. If you want to skip right to the radio show part of it here, you can skip ahead 11 minutes right now, and we'll get started. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing the pre-cackle on the tube. Hope all is well. Enjoy the last day before we have an entire week full of wind and nastiness coming our way. Like we haven't had enough wind the way it was, right? Checking out my base map app. If you can see that on YouTube, there you go. The new additions that they have on there is the temperature 45 degrees in my current location on a high. Freaking flies all over the place right now. High of 68 today. Southeast winds. And it's opening pheasant season today, so congratulations to that. If you're out pheasant hunting or thinking about it. Let's see. Going to be having talking Marty Baxter, Petska for today. And we are talking fur prices and how they're looking for this year, or at least what we're going to assume they're going to be looking for this year. Check this out. Come on, fly. Right there. How do you like that? Need a good hard freeze going on. Fly problem big time. Well, let's see what else we can talk about. Had my niece or my sister bring my niece and a foster niece the last 24 hours of the day of the week here, and it was awesome. Nice to have a chance to be an uncle and show them the ranching side of things. Top of the morning to you, Ivan Lardy. Good to see you. As to you. Let's see what else. Oh man, get everything ready. Hopefully, the stations that take everything via the tube. Hopefully, the audio is coming across. All right. And let's see. Don't need those on. Let's call Marty ahead of time here, a little bit early. See what he's got to chat with on the tube here with me. Wait a minute. Let's see who's messaging me. Karen, good morning. Back in the saddle again, huh? Let's see here. Oh, God, does that look good? Need some more light, huh? Behind me. If I put light behind me, it bleeds everything out. And the sun's coming up. It'll be good here in a little bit. And good God, nobody needs to see good quality of me. Seeing me in the dark is better. So there you go. Anybody else want to text me? Let's see. I've seen you in the dark. Yes, you have. How did you like that? I'm going to skip this conversation and get Marty on the phone for crying out loud. Morning, Waylon. Good to have you on the tube with me again this morning. Appreciate it.
Morning.
Marty Baxter, how are you, sir?
Great. How are you?
Pretty good. We are live on YouTube before we go live on the radio, just to give you a heads up.
Do I have to wear pants?
You don't. I, on the other hand, well, I guess I don't either. It's just from the chest up, so I guess I don't have to unless I stand up in front of the microphone. Just said, one of the guys said, I need more light here. And I said, I don't need more light on me on YouTube. If they would do I wish I had all the fancy stuff to do all the graphics and everything I can do on YouTube. I just black myself out and have different animations going on.
Cut out of Arnold Schwarzenegger for you.
Have you seen him lately?
No. Well, yeah. He looks like a character. He looks like some guy's old cartoon drawing of him. So.
He doesn't look great, like awesome anymore, does he?
No. But I can't say anything.
Yeah. Age is just awesome. I tell you.
Finding out I'm mortal.
Yeah. Well, what's the harvest look like in Nebraska? You guys all finished up down that way?
We are knee deep in it. We aren't even to the halfway spot yet.
Are you?
I've been going since the end of August.
You just hire out in a truck for everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm to the point where I need a nap. So I was glad you called because I actually got to sleep in today.
Good. I'm glad I could take you away from your work while you're making money and now you're on the radio with me.
Yeah, we've been hauling high moisture corn to the feeders, and then it's what would you call it? The people call it Chamber of Commerce weather when you're having a rodeo or a town celebration or something, but for harvest weather you call it Corn Growers Association weather. It's sunny, hot, and dry.
Yeah.
It's not good for pastures, but it's great for harvest.
Right. Big Daddy Dave Williams, morning. KGFX is ready to go. Good to have you with me. They got cool names, Marty. You know, I don't know what it is about the station in Pierre, South Dakota. They got like all the coolest names on the radio side of things. Here I am just using.
Is that someone you're just hooking in for the broadcast on their station now? Or?
Yeah. They're letting me know that they're online with me is what they're doing.
Awesome.
When
I had a lot of people like at Mobridge say they heard me on the radio. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, Mobridge KOLY carries it here on Saturdays. Good people all across the Dakota Territory, man. I tell you, I'm pretty lucky to live in the area I do.
The last 9 months has taught me that I would be pretty happy with where I live.
Yeah,
I've hardly yet to wear a mask.
I cleaned out a grain bin the other day and I wore a mask.
I was cleaning out the radiator and the condenser on the front of my truck so the air conditioner would work, and I wore a mask.
But guess what? When I got done cleaning out that grain bin, I still was blowing black snot out of my nose for about a week afterwards. So I don't know how well they work, because I guarantee the dust particles are a lot larger than coronavirus particles.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. But masks, I guess. I do have I bought a 3-pack on Amazon that were pretty vulgar. So anytime a store or place requires me to wear one, I usually put that one on and they say, okay, go ahead and take it off.
I seen a internet meme the other day. The guy said Karen kept looking at me while I was eating my bagel, and as soon as I finished my last bite, she started screaming at me to put my mask on. So I did, and it showed a giant mask that said Trump on it.
I got one of those too somewhere.
All right. Go ahead.
I said we have about a minute 30 before we get rocking and rolling here, so just a heads up.
I got my best friend lives in eastern Nebraska. We grew up together, and he came out to go fishing with me, and he was here for like a half an hour running around town getting campfire fixings and adult beverage fixings and getting stuff ready to go before we left town. And he goes, "This is great. This is the least I've worn a mask in 6 months."
My sister lives in Vegas, and she brought her one kid and one foster kid with, and came and visited, and they said they just love it up here because they didn't have to wear a mask, and it's mandatory in Vegas right now, no matter where you go.
My sister lives in Las Vegas too.
Maybe covering up some of those people's faces isn't a bad idea. They go down the Fremont Street and cover up a little bit more. All right, I'm going to turn you down here, and I'm going to do a countdown here for the stations. Stand by, 30 seconds. 30-second stations coming up to you on Mark. Keep eyes open for smoke today. Yeah, you bet, Greg. Appreciate you tuning in with me this morning. Boy, I tell you, she's a dry 1 hour country too. Pheasant opener, guys. If you're listening, please be careful and park on gravel as far off as you can, or at least pull over for some of us that are hauling hay still. Stations coming at you in 8 seconds. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio. Good to have you along. All across the Dakota Territory, stations like KGFX in Pierre, South Dakota, KOLY in Mobridge, the voice of the Northern Plains, K-Fire 550 Bismarck, Mandan, KCJB in Minot, and also KLTC in Dickinson, covering 6 states, 2 Canadian provinces today, and I'm glad to be part of it. My name's Scott Bachmeyer. I'm your host here for the next hour. And if you want to call in at any time and just talk whatever, you sure can. 888-932-5682. That's 888, toll-free number, 932-5682. You can remember that by going 888-9-DAKOTA if you can spell it out on, I don't know if you have phones do that still or not, but you can sure do that. I got Marty Baxter coming up here very shortly with Petska Fur. We're going to be talking a little bit about fur prices and just anything fur related. But first, I want to remind you about Action Motorsports. Get in there today. Go see Britt. Go see Steve. Go see the rest of the sales staff or the parts, whatever you want to do. They got great. I actually got one in the mail too. There's great rebates coming up on Rangers, the Polaris Generals, the Polaris Sportsmen. The 570s, 850s, the 1000s, all this stuff is going on right now. Action Motorsports are opening up here in just less than an hour. And if you want the hardest working, the most smoothest ride and getting things done, you got to get yourself a Polaris. I tell you what, the Rangers, Generals, and Sportsmen, just go in there for a test drive and see what's going on. And I think Brett's going to be buying everybody's coffee or cappuccino if you're not a coffee drinker. So make sure to get in. Action Motorsports on the Strip in Mandan, North Dakota. We'll see you guys on Monday is when I'm going to head up there and talk with the folks once again. Hey, Marty Baxter, Petska Fur. Good morning, Marty. How are you, sir?
Morning, Scott.
What is the life like in Nebraska right now? You guys, you said you're knee deep in harvest and corns and soybeans down there right now?
Yep. Been going since end of August. Started hauling silage, chopping corn, and then about the 3rd week of September, we switched to high moisture corn, hauling to the feeders.
Yeah. See, I wish more people had high moisture corn close to me. Last year, everybody did up here. We had a good, really, really wet fall, and they just couldn't get their corn. And people that did, it was pretty wet stuff. And I fed my cattle up nice and fat. This year, not so much. It's been I would say very conducive to combining weather. It's been warm, hot, and windy, and that's just how it's been up this way. Although we still have a lot of sunflowers and corn still waiting to get combined up too. How was the progress down there? You guys halfway done, or are you looking at the end on the corn right now?
We're not. We won't get done. The outfit I work for until probably the 1st week of November, maybe the 2nd week of November. And right now we're bouncing around between different pivots looking for the right moisture for the feeders, but we got that pretty much filled. So now we're going to be finishing some beans, waiting for the corn to dry down more for the bins. I listened to the Big Shot Ag Radio down here, and they were talking about Nebraska was probably 21 or 24% done with harvest.
Do you know? I know Trent Luce lives in Nebraska. I don't know where, but I don't know if you even know the name down there.
Yeah, I know him from our. We have a big ag radio station down here that's
sure
been here forever. And yeah, I hear his show on. He's funny.
You need to get on his show. You got to tell him the ins and outs of how you. If I were you, I mean, if you're running through these fields and you're pulling corn out of there, and I'm guessing you have a shotgun with you. I mean, today is the opening. Today's North Dakota's opening pheasant season. And when you're talking getting to the last few, combining that last few rounds of corn or soybeans or what have you, I'm guessing that's loaded up with birds.
No, see, that's the two differences in cultures, 3 states apart from each other. when I was growing up, the pheasants and opening weekend, the pheasant season was a bigger holiday than Christmas or Thanksgiving. You had more aunts, uncles, cousins show up at grandma's house for pheasant season, and it was just look forward to. It was just the best time of the year. And now, like when I go through North Dakota with the coyote wagon, I see more pheasants in one morning of leaving town anywhere in North Dakota and South Dakota than I've seen in the last 20 years in Nebraska.
Is that right? Really?
So I saw 2 pheasants yesterday, and I almost called the newspaper and told them about it.
So what do you think that? Why is that? Why do we have more population of pheasants in the Dakota Territory than in Nebraska?
Well, I think you have more grasslands.
Okay.
And we have, and I think we're right on the edge of grasslands and rolling hills and croplands, and I think it's like a death from 1,000 paper cuts. It's just all kinds of little things. And then when corn was $7, whatever habitat was left came out, and the farmers are very, very good farmers, and that's not, you need weeds and stuff for pheasants.
Yeah, but you still need those grain fields, man. It seems like if anybody wants to go hunting, that's usually where they're going to go to finish up their hunt. Is that corn, what's left in the corn stalks or what have you. I don't know. Maybe I'm hunting in the wrong spot.
That little round of CRP we had there, I don't know, 15 to 20 years ago was good, and there was a resurgence. But I don't know. It's so tough.
Well, I tell you what, I guess I'd rather go after the corn than pheasant some days, but we don't have. I had somebody come go antelope hunting this week, and he's like, "You guys, you must have good pheasants here." I'm like, "We live in the Badlands. We don't have pheasant, and if you do see one, it tastes like sage, man. It's nasty." So, but we have grouse all over. We have good grouse numbers this year, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of grouse hunters left out there, man.
Heck, the main reason I ended up buying fur in North Dakota was when I was working out at Dunn Center one summer, driving between the quarries and the well pad construction sites. You would see so many pheasants and grouse and rabbits and even I don't know what you call them there, partridge.
Yep.
What do they call them?
Yeah, Hungarian partridge. You bet.
I've seen so many of them just driving around. I said, gosh, there's a lot of coyote food here. There's got to be good coyotes. So I went home and told Greg, I said, there's a lot of coyote food up here and a lot of a good looking country. We should be buying coyotes up here. And he said, well, build her out, put it together. Let's do it.
So why is it Western, North, and South Dakota coyotes kind of compete against anyone in the world with those? I mean, why are the pelts in the West Dakotas so sought after?
Well, I have my own crackpot theory, so I guess
that's
what
I want
in public and let people make fun of me.
Yeah.
My theory on good furs is you got the places with the most open country and the nastiest winters in combination. So your fur has evolved over millions of years, your fur bearers, and they've evolved to survive the coldest average winter, and they've evolved to have just enough fur to survive the coldest average winter and the least fur to survive the hottest average summer. And somewhere in the mix, you turn out with the best fur comes from those high open country prairies, plains. And it's the same way with bobcats. The best bobcats in the world come from the highest, nastiest, coldest BLM sagebrush open areas. And that's the same way with coyotes. If you look where all the good coyotes come from, there's great, big, wide open places that are nasty winters.
Well, and we sure have our share of those once in a while up here, don't we? I can guarantee that. Hey, Marty, we're up against our first break. Stand by here, and we'll be talking shortly here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about fur prices. What's the outlook coming up here this year? Everybody's been asking me, and I know I did a little Facebook squeal on this. a couple days ago, and I called Marty, but I'll tell you what, we're going to hear it from the horse's mouth himself. More coming up your way all across the Dakota Territory. This is the Saturday edition of Dakota Prairie Outdoors. We'll be back right after these messages.
This fall, Pfeiffer's has all of your land and equipment needs covered. Join Pfeiffer's Auctioneers for the 15th annual Western Dakota Land Auction, October 20th through the 23rd, for 9 incredible land auctions with over 300 acres in Mound Trail, Dunn, Billings, Grant, Hettinger, Slope, and Perkins counties. Also, Pfeiffer's fall equipment auctions are plush with unbelievable equipment throughout the upper Midwest. Join Pfeiffer's for exceptional retirement auctions in Bowman, Steele, Hazelton, Fargo, and Gackle, North Dakota, Vergas, Minnesota, and Bison, South Dakota. Full details and online bidding is available at Pfeiffer's.com.
MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust provides ag loans for all stages of growth, from seed to harvest. Our expert agribusiness lending staff specializes in loans for livestock, equipment, vehicles, and operating. With our roots in agribusiness lending, you can be assured that our lending staff will provide you with prompt and reliable service. In other words, our ag loan officers will always keep your best interests in mind. Stop by your local Dakota Community Bank and Trust today. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. These are challenging times for our state, but the North Dakota oil and gas industry wants you to know they're coming back better than ever. The Bakken is still one of the best energy resources in the world and will be for generations to come. And through it all, the oil industry remains committed to developing our state's natural resources in harmony with our great outdoors and wildlife. This message is brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Council. Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust provides ag loans for all stages of growth, from seed to harvest. Our expert agribusiness lending staff specializes in loans for livestock, equipment, vehicles, and operating. With our roots in agribusiness lending, you can be assured that our lending staff will provide you with prompt and reliable service. In other words, our ag loan officers will always keep your best interests in mind. Stop by your local Dakota Community Bank and Trust today. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
This fall, Pfeiffer's has all of your land and equipment needs covered. Join Pfeiffer's Auctioneers for the 15th annual Western Dakota Land Auction, October 20th through the 23rd, for 9 incredible land auctions with over 300 acres in Mound Trail, Dunn, Billings, Grant, Hettinger, Slope, and Perkins counties. Also, Pfeiffer's fall equipment auctions are plush with unbelievable equipment throughout the upper Midwest. Join Pfeiffer's for exceptional retirement auctions in Bowman, Steele, Hazelton, Fargo, and Gackle, North Dakota, Vergas, Minnesota, and Bison, South Dakota. Full details and online bidding is available at Pfeiffer's.com.
These are challenging times for our state, but the North Dakota oil and gas industry wants you to know they're coming back better than ever. The Bakken is still one of the best energy resources in the world and will be for generations to come. And through it all, the oil industry remains committed to developing our state's natural resources in harmony with our great outdoors and wildlife. This message is brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Council. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Listen to this. Music from Benny Paulson and Breaking 8. Following Benny on social media, he is in Nashville right now, I believe, or just finishing up recording some new songs in Nashville. So just I hope it goes well. You know, this is one of the things. I hope he turns out to be bigger than Garth Brooks, because I can say, I have his cell number. Let's call him up and get him on the radio. In fact, I should probably do that. I should have him come down into the studio one of these times and do some live music for us here. Hey, don't forget about Action Motorsports. They're opening up here in less, probably about 40 minutes. If you knock on the door real hard, maybe they'll let you in a little bit early. Great rebates on Rangers, Generals, Polaris Sportsmen's. I tell you what, Action Motorsports on the Strip in Mandan. One of the places, Marty Baxter, that's where you should stop in and buy coyotes, is Action Motorsports, because in between purchasing coyotes, you could jump in these fancy Rangers. They got air, they got heat, they got beverage holders, and I mean, it's like all the creature comforts that you'd ever need to go coyote hunting, isn't it?
Well, they got cup holders.
Oh boy, that was.
Do they hold bourbon?
You darn right they do.
Oh man, I guess I might better stop in there. Do they have a cigar holder to go with your bourbon holder?
I'm sure that they probably have something that would be able to have a cigar holder. Now you're talking like the high class type of, the gentleman's coyote rig is what you're talking about. Bourbon and cigars and sitting back and talking about, I don't know what you would. I drink bourbon,
I don't know how high class
cigars.
it is to have an addiction to bourbon and nicotine.
Well, it was back in the day, wasn't it? I mean, that's you see these guys in their cigar lounges, and that's what they do, and they look pretty high class, I guess you could say. So I tell you, the phone number is 888-932-5682. If you have a question for Marty Baxter here about anything fur related, antler related, I don't know, how to pick up girls with a 40-foot trailer full of coyotes related, whatever it might be, he probably has the answer. Again, that's 888-932-5682. And, we were discussing during the break you were asking me about traceability in livestock. And I told you I did a story on bovine facial recognition software that's coming out here next year. And you also said that there's traceability in the fur industry. So what's happening here? Tell me this story.
Well, it's not in the fur industry yet. It's just they've been trying to get it for the last several years. Mm-hmm. And some of the biggest coyote buyers on the planet, so it's coming from the top down. They would like traceability. They would like traceability instituted. And then so from the bottom up, the harvesters are naturally suspicious and don't trust them any farther than they can throw them. And so it's a hard place to meet in the middle. And I try to be objective and look at it both ways. Well, if the guy who's writing the check is keeping the fur industry alive right now wants traceability, we should listen. And on the other hand, I'm like, well, I don't want no part of it. So it's such a tough road to hoe to figure out what's what and what's where. But they want to have, you were talking about the RFID chips.
Yeah.
And they were wanting something like that in a coyote pelt. And
so are they looking at the harvester, like the trapper and the guys out there shooting them to be able to, ear tag this pelt when we're done? Or are they looking at you as the middleman buyer to do this traceability? Who do they want to spend that money on it, I guess you could say?
That's all the questions I have that I can't get answered. I know how much labor it takes, how much labor and logistics it takes to move 5,000 coyotes from one side of the room to the other, and it's not insubstantial. And if you have to physically tag a coyote and you're selling or moving tens of thousands of coyotes, it's a lot of extra, politics and suspicions aside, it's a lot of extra expense. You almost have to have a single person whose only job is to tag coyotes.
Yeah.
And so I'm terribly suspicious. I don't know. I don't have the answers, and I can't get any straight answers, but I know they're pushing hard from the top down. And I suppose as we go on, we'll get more and more information and figure it out, but it's a conundrum right now.
So what I'm going to do with my green-skinned pelts this year for you, Marty, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some old ear tags that fell out of some cows and stuff that I have a 5-gallon bucket. And I'm going to tag them for you so you know where they come from. Where do you want them tagged?
Right square in the nose.
Perfect. It's going to happen.
Now, actually, put it between their eyes so it lays flat. And you want it to lay flat. When you're trying to stack thousands of coyotes, if it sticks up, it ruins the pile. You wouldn't think it, but it really does. So make sure they lay flat.
So I'm just going to throw this out there. Would it matter if to you, I mean, if all my coyotes were dated, like shot on this day, because, you want them during that October to end of November, middle of December, that's like the best fur, right, that you want here in the Dakota Territory, isn't it?
Then the Dakota Territory, Halloween to Christmas is going to be the heart of it.
Halloween to Christmas.
Yeah, and if you have to take vacation time to go kill your coyotes, if you're going to go on a varmint hunting, trapping safari, and you're wondering what time to tag, the first 2 weeks of November is what I always say.
Okay.
The fur is going to be at its best with the least amount of wear.
Would it be beneficial, as me selling it to you, to actually write the dates that I shot anything? Or does it really matter anymore? I mean, I know you guys go through the fur anyway, but does that hold any weight?
I could almost tell you. Everything's on averages, and you got the average, and you got outliers on good and bad outliers on each side of the average. But you can tell. You can tell when they were harvested. You can see the dull. I mean, fur buyers who know what they're doing can tell early coyotes. They can tell heart of it. They can tell ones that have been around, or are starting to be wore out or have been through some rough habitat. So, you could do that, and it would show a sign of good faith and that you're trying hard and make a good relationship, but it would just be a waste of time because, I mean, then and the amount of time it takes you to do that, we've already looked at 5 or 6 coyotes and already know what they are and where they fall in the spectrum of the market.
Maybe I could really blow the USDA's mind and put some RFID ear tags in a coyote, and then they show up down at your guys' place wondering where my cattle are.
This is a Black Angus.
This does not look like an Angus cow at all here. Well, maybe the coyote ate it. You never know. Maybe he ate it. The tag's inside.
Maybe get some coyote ear tags and put them in an Angus ear.
This doesn't look like coyote fur. All those Chinese over there are like, is this really coyote fur? It sure looks a little different here. It feels a little leathery. So I'm going to keep you on the other side of the break. We only have 60 seconds before we're up against our next break here. But very quickly, give a prelude to, we'll talk prices, but are they going to be the same, a little lower, a little higher this year? What are you thinking for coyotes?
Coyotes, there's still demand for them. I would expect them to be softer this year. And I would expect the grade to be a little tougher, but coyotes, by and large, are still the only thing floating the fur industry's boat right now.
Okay, excellent. Well, when you say softer, are we talking $10 softer than last year per coyote on average, or are we talking 30?
So most informed people are talking 20%. That's their best guess right now, plus or minus. You sound like a politician, always hedging your stance, but you don't know. Everybody's guessing at this point, and somebody that tells you they're not guessing you need to look at them with a suspicious eye. But
they're lying. That's what they're doing.
I wouldn't say that. I would say be wary.
Buyer beware. All right, well, stay with me here, Marty. We're going to come back here in about 30 seconds. We're up against our break here. Don't forget about, if today's the last day of roaring into the 20s for the North Dakota Stockmen's Association. They're at the Ramkota Hotel today. They got a speaker showcase, policy development, election of officers and directors, and, of course, the annual recognition banquet. Tomorrow's Top Hands Beef Leadership Summit is going on October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th at the Sleep Inn Suites in Minot. And don't forget this Sunday, Bowman Fire Department Pancake and Sausage Fundraiser. It's going to be from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Fire Hall. We'll be back with more Dakota Prairie Outdoors Radio after these messages.
This fall, Pifers has all of your land and equipment needs covered. Join Pifers Auctioneers for the 15th annual Western Dakota Land Auction, October 20th through the 23rd, for 9 incredible land auctions with over 300 acres in Mound Trail, Dunn, Billings, Grant, Hettinger, Slope, and Perkins counties. Also, Pifers fall equipment auctions are plush with unbelievable equipment throughout the upper Midwest. Join Pifers for exceptional retirement auctions in Bowman, Steele, Hazelton, Fargo, and Gackle, North Dakota, Vergas, Minnesota, and Bison, South Dakota. Full details and online bidding is available at Pifers.com.
MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust provides ag loans for all stages of growth, from seed to harvest. Our expert agribusiness lending staff specializes in loans for livestock, equipment, vehicles, and operating. With our roots in agribusiness lending, you can be assured that our lending staff will provide you with prompt and reliable service. In other words, our ag loan officers will always keep your best interests in mind. Stop by your local Dakota Community Bank and Trust today. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy.
These are challenging times for our state, but the North Dakota oil and gas industry wants you to know they're coming back better than ever. The Bakken is still one of the best energy resources in the world and will be for generations to come. And through it all, the oil industry remains committed to developing our state's natural resources in harmony with our great outdoors and wildlife. This message is brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Council. Western Frontier Insurance. Agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, and Wilton.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust provides ag loans for all stages of growth, from seed to harvest. Our expert agribusiness lending staff specializes in loans for livestock, equipment, vehicles, and operating. With our roots in agribusiness lending, you can be assured that our lending staff will provide you with prompt and reliable service. In other words, our ag loan officers will always keep your best interests in mind. Stop by your local Dakota Community Bank and Trust today. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
This fall, Pifers has all of your land and equipment needs covered. Join Pifers Auctioneers for the 15th annual Western Dakota Land Auction, October 20th through the 23rd, for 9 incredible land auctions with over 300 acres in Mound Trail, Dunn, Billings, Grant, Hettinger, Slope, and Perkins counties. Also, Pifers fall equipment auctions are plush with unbelievable equipment throughout the upper Midwest. Join Pifers for exceptional retirement auctions in Bowman, Steele, Hazelton, Fargo, and Gackle, North Dakota, Vergas, Minnesota, and Bison, South Dakota. Full details and online bidding is available at Pifers.com. NorthDakotaOil.com.
These are challenging times for our state, but the North Dakota oil and gas industry wants you to know they're coming back better than ever. The Bakken is still one of the best energy resources in the world and will be for generations to come. And through it all, the oil industry remains committed to developing our state's natural resources in harmony with our great outdoors and wildlife. This message is brought to you by the North Dakota Petroleum Council. Rockin' 7W has all the panels you need. Freestanding panels, windbreak panels, feeder panels, and the original protester panel. If you don't know what that is, it's a sort panel that makes sorting calves from a cow a breeze. You can do it in a fraction of time with just one person on foot or horseback. You can custom order sizes to fit your current operation, or you can start from scratch. Rockin' 7W also does trailer repair on any size trailers, mobile welding, and custom cattle hauling. Call Justin at Rockin' 7W at 701-206-1030. That's 701-206-1030. Rockin' 7W, the farmer and rancher's go-to guy. Welcome back, everybody. It's Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Good to have you along. All across the Dakota Territory, KLTC and Dickinson, KCJB and Minot, KFYR, Bismarck, Mandan, KOLY and Mobridge, and just keep on down the Missouri River, KGFX, Pierre, South Dakota. Good to have you folks along. Thanks again for sticking with me. And don't forget about Polaris, especially Action Motorsports. Stop in today. They're open in about a half hour. Coffee's on. Britt says that he's going to give you the best deal you can today on a Ranger, a General, or a Sportsman, or all three. Get the trifecta of Polaris off-road vehicles. Action Motorsports, Mandan, North Dakota, on the Strip. Can't miss it. What a great, big, new, nice building they have there. All kinds of accessories as well. So get in there and do that. Talking to Marty Baxter with Petska Fur. And have you got your travel routes kind of figured out yet, Marty, when you're going to start coming up through the Dakota Territory?
You know, I was talking to Greg last week, and he's still putting them together. So we're still figuring them out right now. We usually try to shoot for having those things penciled in stone by the end of October.
I have a question from Facebook Messenger out of one of the listeners in Mobridge area. It says, coming from a non-fur hunter, how much money can one expect from an average coyote? $5, $100? He says, I really don't know because he's never done it.
That's a great question, and it's a common question. And it brings up the opportunity to talk about an industry term called basis. In the fur world, basis means basically an industry term for the scale. If someone says, what basis are you using to buy coyotes? And they say $130 basis. That means the scale of coyote values will go from $0 to $130, and your coyote will fit somewhere on that scale. So if they say a scale of a basis of $100, that means your scale is 0 to 100. So it just expands or contracts the scale that they're of the values of what they are. Now, for the guy asking on Facebook, there is no average. The market changes daily, yearly, weekly. I've had people say they wouldn't sell me their coyotes because I didn't give them $200 for them because they sold them for $200 in 1974, and I was trying to rob them. The knowledge. I mean, there's people that are up to date on the market information, and there's people that would be low information for harvesters. So the scale of fur harvesters is from 0 to low information to high information. Yeah. So it's the value is you just have to talk to someone who's involved in the market and knows what the market is today.
And that's why we're talking to you. You're that guy.
Yeah.
So if a person...
And then I'll turn around and tell you we're all guessing.
Yeah, well, would you say this year, I mean, if you had to put a number on it, would it be on carcass coyote, would you say $30? Or would you say, give us your best... shake that best, magic 8-ball and give me that future price, man.
The best guess right now at today's date is using Monday morning quarterback, and we can look back at last year and say that most of the coyotes were sold on $130 basis last year. The coyote market was about $130 market last year. So this year they're talking about 20% off. So $100 plus or minus will probably be the basis this year.
Okay.
And there's always and that brings up another tangential point. Coyotes right now are the only thing that generates any revenue. So if you imagine the fur industry as the Titanic and it's going down, and you think of coyotes, they're a lifeboat. And all the people in the fur industry that can't give it up and can't do something else are all fighting for a spot on that lifeboat. And so the market may be $100 plus or minus, but there's people that do crazy things when they're in desperate times and pay too much for them. So as a harvester, you need to pay attention and kind of check out all the different buyers and see who's being the craziest, whose money is good. That little tip, that's a pro tip.
Yeah. And then we saw that last year. I should say this spring.
Sure.
I mean, this past season, when I auctioned the state auction up in Bismarck, the highest one was $205 for put up coyotes. And I think the lowest was, I mean, all the way down, there were some that were definitely not great pelts there too, but even those still brought $50-$60 on the low end. So I'm thinking it shocked me because the year before the highest lot was like $135. But these guys are also selling it beyond that. So, I mean, the guy that bought them for $205 a piece, unless he's playing on a huge, large lot average of, he got a whole bunch of really, really cheap ones, but he had to get $210 to even make a $5 profit on those pelts. And I don't think that happened at the big sale that they had. I know Canada had their big sale. What was it, a month ago or whatever it was?
No, and and they were off considerably. I think those guys in Alberta and stuff saying their coyotes at this last sale averaged 80 something Canadian. So that tells you what what is that US dollars? 69, 65?
Yeah. No idea what the trade difference is on that. No.
I should be more informed about that, but so it's going to be a little tighter. And if you know all the behind the scenes stories between the $200 coyotes at the Bismarck sale, you would just roll your eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the rest of the story, like Paul Harvey would say.
Well, we'll share it sometime with bourbon and cigars, and we'll drive around the pastures in a four-wheeler.
Putting up snares. Hey, a text message comes in and says, what caliber and what bullet do I want to use in coyotes for the minimum amount of damage? And I'm going to add to this after you answer this, too.
So I'll start a great debate here. So
yes, let's do this.
Growing up being a coyoteaholic and chasing coyotes with my Ruger 22-250 that I saved my lunch money and bought when I was in 10th grade, I've come down to, I love the 52 grain boat tail hollow points in 224 caliber, and those bullets in a 22-250 or a 223. A lot of people can argue plus 8 million ways from Sunday what's best, but by and large, that's as good as it gets.
That's the one you want for the minimum amount of damage. And you're also looking at right behind the front shoulder, just like you're taking a deer down, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. When you snare and you go out and I'm going to add on to this. So you're looking at a lot of these people trying to reach out a little bit further for coyotes. I mean,
sure.
A 22-250, comfortably, what, 300-400 yards is probably going to be your top on that. For those coyotes, like out here in the Badlands, sometimes, they're on the next ridge sitting there staring at you, and it's a long distance in between, and they're not going to cover that for a little bit of a mouse squeak. They're going to stay there and go after something else. So these longer reaching rifles, what do you think would be a good caliber for people that want to reach out to the 800-yard coyote out there?
That's something that I have to say I have no clue about.
Okay.
I know we have a great sniper culture going on right now, and long range hunting this and long range that and the other. But once I would have to talk to somebody with more experience of doing that. I shot a coyote one time at 428 yards, measured and lasered, and with my 308 with a full metal jacket bullet, and it dropped him in his tracks. But there was no fur damage. But 428, people laugh at that nowadays and say that's a chip shot. So I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. I was walking around, never had any buttons left on my shirt. I'm so proud.
Message comes in and says you don't need long range. You got to become a better coyote caller.
There you go.
The caliber bullet debate can turn friends against each other.
Yeah, when you're at hunting camp, you don't talk about politics or religion
and calibers. No politics, religion, and calibers of shooting coyotes, I guess.
But as a fur buyer who gets to look at tens of thousands of hides every year, those 224s and the Bowtail Hollow points and the 223 or 22 250, just day in, day out, it's an entrance hole and no exit, and they can't tell they weren't trapped.
Yeah. You know, and I got yelled at by a guy for using a 22 250 one year. Like,
why?
It's a long. I'll tell you that same story over the bourbon and cigars. Okay. It's a long story. We'll get there. But yeah. So coming up, antler prices. People, I've got a pile of them again for you, Marty. Been saving for a couple years again here. I got a pile.
So all the volatility and in the fur world, talking to Greg, he's telling me that antlers are pretty stable. You know, they might be a little softer, but by and large, they're pretty stable and hasn't really moved much. So antlers are still good property.
Yeah. Biggest thing is, you know, I mean, a lot of the ones I'm finding, I'm hiking some new areas here in the Badlands, and I'm finding a lot of the old, you know, the chalky ones. But they're still, are they still going to be $1 a pound for the chalky ones?
You know, that's like that's like mirage, like heat waves. You know, sometimes you can see clearly, and sometimes it's obscured. Those chalks, sometimes they're good money, and sometimes no one wants them. And then so you get you're all geared up to not being worth nothing, and then someone asks you if you got any chalk, and they're worth something, and you're like, oh, well, I've been passing them up. So that just fades in and out, like, you know, like good radio reception. It just one day they're worth something, and one day they're not. And it's just, so always check with your favorite antler buyer.
How about elk? How are they? How are those antlers selling right now?
Those things, as near as I can tell, they're pretty good. Everybody always likes elk. They're big and interesting and got some wow factor to them, and everybody always kind of likes them. Yeah.
Well, the ones I have are not big, but they are elk antlers, so I'm still going to bring you some of those too.
And they're still cool, no matter. I mean, a 5x raghorn is still, that's cool antler. I mean, I think I need elk antlers on my garage at my house. And
is that what people are buying them for? I mean, the people around here, that's, you know, we hang up, you know, the big ones, we have them hanging up in the house or in our shop or around the man cave or the beer cooler or whatever it may be. What does see, my sister came up here from Vegas, and I was telling you about this, and brought my niece and a foster niece here, and you know that the one the foster niece, she's never been to a ranch before, and she was asking all kinds of great questions, and I was explaining things to her, and she jumped in, got into a tractor, and she never drove a tractor before, and you know, I mean, just things like this. I tried to show her as much as I can, but the people that live in the cities. And help explain to me, what are they looking at? Are they the ones buying these for different art or handles on their cabin?
No,
what are they?
There's so many different. I mean, there's a lot of that. I mean, you know, just by watching the TV shopping networks, that people just buy stuff because it looks cool, and you know. But there's certainly a lot of that, and you know, antlers have been magnetic, you know, to people since the dawn of time. You know, there's big antlers paint on cave paintings, and so there's something magical about antlers that attracts humans, and you know, different humans are wired to different levels of attraction to them. I mean, I've had guys come up to the parking lot to sell their antlers, and we get them out and start grading them, and you swear they were getting tears in their eyes. And then they go, you know what? I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Put them back. And we put them all back in the box. And I'm sorry, man. I apologize for wasting your time. I said, dude, I've seen it all. Don't worry about it.
I know people exactly like you're talking about. Exactly.
To some people, they're treasures, and they would no more sell them than they would their grandma. And other people, they pay the bill, and you know, they pay the electric bill in the wintertime.
Yeah. Yeah. You get some people. I can't believe it. You look on some of the antler art. I mean, people are making rings out of them now. Of course, knife handles have been around for a long time on a lot of antlers for knife handles, but Christmas trees and light fixtures and everything that you want to see. The antlers seems to be the lamps and the whole works. It seems like you can't go anywhere on social media, on Marketplace, without somebody thinking about they got to sell something with an antler in it.
Exactly. And we'll get a dozen calls a year of people, just wanting one antler. I said, well, if you want to pay for us boxing it up and shipping it to you, we could sell you one antler. What are you looking for?
Yeah.
But everybody is cuckoo about something in this world, and antlers have some sort of a magical attraction for a lot of people.
Years ago, before I met you, I had a whole stack full of, I ran the Missouri River one Saturday, and I picked up just a ton of whitetail antlers. And I thought, for the heck of it, I boxed them all up and I put them on eBay. And you should have seen the bidding was phenomenal on eBay, and selling a box of antlers. I'm like, are you kidding me? And the guy that bought them, I sent him a message. What's going on? What do you use? He was using it exclusively for cupboards, for handles for cupboards and log cabin homes and what have you. Works out good that way.
Man, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're the guest.
I got a good friend who was telling me about, talking about picking up elk antlers and deer antlers. He was telling me in the springtime he would take his dirt bike and go down the railroad tracks where it went through the canyons out in the mountains in Colorado. And he would go down the railroad tracks in the spring and pull ivories out of all the elk that had been hit by the trains in the winter.
Okay. Yeah.
And he would make a lot of good money in that springtime just off the elk ivories, because there were so many of them, and he could get a big collection of them. And I'd make $500 in the spring just for a weekend to ride my dirt bike up and down the railroad.
Yeah, I could about imagine getting some of the ivories out of those decaying carcasses. That ought to be, that's a job that he can have, man, I tell you. But like you said, though, there's companies. I know there's one in Colorado that exclusively just makes jewelry out of elk ivories, and they do a heck of a nice job.
Yeah, and I've got, I think everybody's got a handful of them laying around they don't know what to do with.
Everybody, Marty? I don't know about that.
Okay, a lot of people.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime tag up here in North Dakota, I tell you. Not a lot of people, they keep them things. So, hey, how do people get in touch with you or Greg or any of the Petska Fur guys if they have more questions, comments, concerns, and all that? The best way is to call Greg, and his phone number is 308-870. No. Erase that. Okay. 308-750-0700. Okay. 308-750-0700. And check at the end of October on petskafur.net for updates on routes. And there's always on the antler page, there's a current and updated antler prices there as to the current market. And I would say the end of October, there's where we typically get the routes posted. Real quick, we got 60 seconds. A text message says, last year, it seemed like there was an influx of more people buying furs. Are we going to see the same amount, or did some people overpay and run out of business? Well, that's yet to be seen. There definitely was an influx because profits attract producers. So, but it goes the other way too. So we'll see who survived. We'll see who, when the new season starts, who the players are on the scene. See who played it, the averages correctly. It sounds like you guys are ranchers, like the same thing we got to do. It's no different than any ag in the country. It's averages and making wise marketing decisions and working hard and saving hard and getting up and grinding it every day. It's no different. It's exactly the same. And if you look at the fur industry and agriculture, I think fur falls into that agricultural side so much because, honestly, that's why a lot of us do what we do out here is because coyotes and during calving season, it's nothing what we want to see. So I think they go hand in hand. And, the more farmers and ranchers, although according to my city niece there, she said that there's a lot of coyotes in towns now, or in cities. So maybe we need to start snaring dumpsters in Las Vegas. I'll have to send you, we're out of time, but I'll have to send you an article about a lady that seen a coyote walking down the street in Los Angeles, and she heard this, and the coyote fell over dead, and she couldn't figure out what happened to it. And then they discovered there was a government sniper in the neighborhood. I want that job. Then they was all up in arms because somebody was
well, the coyotes were here before we were. We're encroaching on their habitat. You know the type.
I know exactly the type. Marty, thanks so much for coming on here on a Saturday. Have yourself a good day, my friend.
Thanks for having me. It's always a blast. I love it.
You bet. Marty Baxter. You can find more at petscafur.net if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Hey, there's another Saturday, I guess you could say maybe wasted, right here on Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Thanks for having me today. And if you have any questions on my side of the things, you can get in touch with me, 701-425-6651. That's my cell number. I do live in an area where we get cell service and sometimes we don't. So check that out. My daily show can be heard on all these stations right here. You can also find it at dakotaprairieoutdoors.com. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy. Eat some meat, drink some milk, support the egg industry. All righty, stations. Thank you. Marty, thanks again, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's always fun. I really do. It's fun, and thanks for having me.
You bet. Have yourself a good one. I'm going to run across the river and help my neighbor work some calves. He's shipping out his calves today. It's time to get that done. So have yourself a good one.
Have a good time. I'm going to go hop into Peterbilt and haul soybeans to the elevator.
All right. I'll have fun with that too.
See you, man.
You bet. See ya. YouTube, I appreciate you guys hanging with me. Keep subscribing, keep sharing. I appreciate that. And you have a great weekend as well. See you next week.